My pirate ancestor, his name was Andrew Ranson. My name is Kyle Ranson. And I never met the guy. He died like 300 years ago. But I'm going to make an assumption that like all pirates, Andrew was after one thing. What was that? Somebody said booty. This is church, everybody. I'm going to go with treasure. I'll say he's after treasure. He was after something better in his life. What we know about him is that he's from a line of merchant sailors, and he must have looked at that career path and went, that's not for me. I want something better than this. I want to go after greater things in my life. His path was piratry. See, in 1684, he was caught off the coast in St. Augustine, Florida, which at that time, for context, St. Augustine's super paranoid about pirates, like so paranoid, they're building a massive fortress to keep the pirates out. So Andrew comes in, he gets caught, he's tried, he's found guilty, and he's hung. However, after he passes out from lack of oxygen, the rope breaks, and his body falls to the ground, and they're like, pretty sure he's dead? They don't know back then. So they scoop him up, they take him into the church, they start planning the funeral, and this is when things get really interesting. Let's pick it up in the book that details a bit about his life. It says, the priest dumped the body near the altar and began to discuss plans for the funeral service, which was when Ranson woke up. He saw the altar and began to pray. Between the rope breaking and the corpse reviving, the priest wondered whether this was some sort of miracle. This is my favorite line. Ranson himself didn't have any doubt. You know, like, no crap, he didn't have any doubt. Can you imagine? You wake up and you're like, what are you saying? Yeah, oh, definitely. It's definitely a miracle. Please stop trying to kill me. Now, from there, I think it got even stranger. See, because from that point, Andrew Ranson went on to become one of the greatest citizens in St. Augustine. Like, he started to serve people and became a valued citizen, and they kept giving him greater and greater responsibility until the point they gave him one of the greatest roles in the entire town. They hired him as the engineer to finish building the fort, the one designed to keep out pirates like him. That when you start on the road to greater things, and you dream of greater things in your life, and you start taking steps down the path, there's often some twists and turns you did not anticipate. I'm a millennial. Just want to put that out there in the open. Don't judge me for that. I'm a millennial. It means that I dream of greater things. It means that there's this dream of greater things that just in my generation, like planted in our brain, like almost like someone just dropped it in there. By the time I was a junior in college, I wanted to do greater things. I knew that the normal career path was not for me. I wanted something more than that. I wanted to like change the world. Which, by the way, so you know, for millennials, greater things doesn't mean fame, money, and power. For us, greater things means like contributing to the greater good, changing the world, making a difference, leaving a mark, that kind of thing. Well, that's what I wanted. I wanted to change the world. Problem was, no one was hiring for that. I did land a good job, though, out of school. I was very fortunate. I got a job working for a Fortune 100 company doing advertising. Not bad, right? Although that's just a fancy way of saying I worked for the Yellow Pages and I made phone book ads. Wasn't exactly the greater things I was after. But it did pay well, and it offered some promotions and stuff. And so, for a while, I thought, well, maybe this is it. Maybe I'm not going to change the world. Maybe this is kind of it. Maybe this is as good as it gets, and I can get behind that. But I couldn't shake this feeling that maybe there was something more for my life. And so I did kind of a strange move. I spent 2 straight months where every night I would come home from work, I'd sit in the floor of my apartment, and I would try to pray and talk to God and say, God, what do you want from my life? Do you have dreams of greater things for me or not? And if so, define that for me. Tell me what is greater for me. And I just tried to pray and hear from him, and I'm not an expert at this by any means. I'm just doing my best, and this might sound crazy, but one night I thought I heard something. And by heard, I don't mean like an audible voice like, hey, Kyle, I just thought I'd tell you some stuff. It was more like a thought, dropped into the back of my head that didn't feel like it originated from me. You ever had that feeling? It's like that. And what I heard, I wrote down. I just kind of scribbled it on a card really quickly. It says, evangelizing a new church. Now, to be honest, I had no idea what that meant. And really, I still don't. But I knew this. I knew that God had a dream of greater things for me, and that sounded way more like changing the world than making phone book ads. So I said, I'm in, God. I'm in. Let's go after it. Let's get started. Let's start walking the road to greater things. And it wasn't long after that another thing in the back of my head dropped in. It was quit your job, move to Cincinnati. I was in South Carolina. I tested that with some friends and some family, and it felt like, yeah, this is it. This is part of the road. And so I went. when I got to Cincinnati was literally on the floor. It was where I got started. Because my parents, they bought this house in Park Hills, Kentucky. It was 90 years old, and the only previous occupants for the last 2 years were a whole bunch of cats. And the cats were like, you know what, there's no people here. We don't need litter boxes. Let's just pee everywhere. Let's pee on the floors. Let's pee on the walls. Let's pee on the counters and the sinks. Let's not pee in the toilets. That'll really mess with the humans, you know. It was just covered in cat pee. And the only job I could find was on the floor, scrubbing it. And I'm thinking, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, God. I thought we were on the road to greater things. We're not the first ones to dream of greater things. 2,000 years ago, 12 guys followed Jesus. They were called his disciples. They dreamed of greater things. In fact, Jesus had walked up to each one of them in the course of their daily life and said, hey, do you want to leave all this and come follow me and go change the world? And they were like, yes, absolutely, we do. That'd be fantastic. But lately, as they've been following him, things haven't been going like they thought they would. The road wasn't taking them in the way they thought it would go, and Jesus had been saying these really concerning things to them lately, stuff like, hey guys, just want to let you know a couple things, a couple details. One, I'm planning on getting arrested soon, tried, executed, I'm going to go to heaven, and then you'll never see me again. And they were like, that's not what we thought was going to happen, Jesus. That's not the path to greater things that we had imagined. And so they were stuck in this moment where the future, this greater thing they thought they had been promised, they thought they were walking towards, it seemed in jeopardy. And Jesus knows this about them. But he's determined to go there. He's not going to stop. And so at his last meal with them, what's known as the Last Supper, he sits them down. And he underlines something for them and I think for us. This is John 14:12. Jesus gathers them around. And he says, most assuredly I say to you. That means, I guarantee this. I guarantee it. He who believes in me, the works I do, he will do also. And greater works than these he will do. Because I go to my Father. Jesus says, I don't want you to just dream of great things. I want you to dream of greater things. And listen to what he says. He says, he who believes in me. That means he's not talking to 12 guys 2,000 years ago. If you believe in Jesus, he's talking to you. And he says, the destiny for your life is greater things. And so Jesus says, clearly, I want greater things for you. Which is great. That's encouraging, right? That's awesome. It leaves another question, though. Awesome, Jesus. How do we do that? How do we get there? What's the road? Well, Jesus, he didn't just give the promise, he left a plan, a really clear plan. A couple days before that conversation with his guys, he had another one, walking on the road on the way to Jerusalem. And he kind of stopped them and he gave them the plan. Listen to this is Matthew 20. Jesus says, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. Whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Want to be first? Awesome. Be a slave. Want to be great? Awesome. Be a servant. What's that mean? We think about a servant kind of does two things. They take instruction and they serve. And so there's two questions. If you want to adopt this mindset, the plan of Jesus, I think that's here for us is, hey, who can I learn from? That's who can I take instruction from? Who can I learn from? And who can I serve? You ask those two questions together and you're doing something called humility. The method of Jesus is a method called humility. The road to greatness is humility. It's you're up here and I put myself down here. I put you above me every time. That's the picture of humility. And I constantly ask as I'm doing that, who can I learn from? Who can I serve? Who can I slot myself under to learn from? Who can I slot myself under to serve? There's a passage in 1 Peter where you see these things playing out. This is 1 Peter 5. He says, likewise, you younger people, submit yourself to your elders. That's who can I learn from. Yes, all of you be submissive to one another. That's who can I serve. And be clothed in humility, for God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. Did you catch that? Did you catch that? You walk the road to humility, and what happens is that you end up exalted. God exalts you. That's greater things. The road to humility, or the road to greater things is humility. And did you get that last part? You get to cast all your care upon him. There's another road to go down, another road to greatness. It's the road that the world proposes. It's the road called pride. Pride is essentially me above you. And I ask this question: who can learn from me and who can serve me? That's pride. And pride only and always leads to our own destruction. It promises greatness and it never delivers. Always leads to destruction. Proverbs 16 says that. Pride comes before destruction. Why? Well, I don't think it's a punishment. God, like, hey, he's not saying, hey, listen, if you go in this direction, I'm going to punish you. I'm going to give you a big spank of destruction. That's not it. He won't have to do that. I think that's a warning. Because pride, me above you, means I'm isolated and alone up here. And all the weight of my life is on me. I can't carry that burden. I will break. It will destroy me every single time. It'll destroy me. But see, humility in contrast always leads to greatness. Another verse in Proverbs says this. It says, in humility, or by humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. Who can you learn from? Who can you serve? Riches and honor and life. You know, I cleaned cat pee for a while. There was a lot of it. But after I was done, I was very fortunate, and I landed a job at Crossroads. And that might sound amazing to you. In a lot of ways, it really was. But it also meant I was the low man on the totem pole. And my job was logistics and organization guy. And I hate those things, for the record. I hate them. And if you make me do them, I'll have a bad attitude about it, okay? But for years and years, God kept me there. And a lot of days I'd come in and I'd have a bad attitude, but some days I'd come in and God would start to talk to me. He'd go, hey, Kyle, do you want greater things for your life? Yes, I do. Awesome. Serve these people. Look around in your workplace and say, who can I learn from? Who can I serve? And on my best days, I'd walk in with that attitude. On my best days. And God used that to chip away bit by bit. He's not done by any means. Bit by bit. 12 years later, I'm higher up on the org chart now, and God's putting bigger dreams of greater things in my head. I think they're from Him. Things like reach a whole nation with the message of Jesus in a language they can understand. It's incredible. And you know what God's saying to me right now? He's not saying, hey, Kyle, as we pursue these bigger, better dreams, I really want you to make sure you elbow your ideas into the conversation. You know, get them out there. Not saying that. He's not saying, hey, Kyle, as we dream of bigger things, I really want you to exercise your leadership muscle. Not saying that. What he's saying is, hey, Kyle, as we dream of bigger things, I want you to ask two questions. Who can you learn from? Who can you serve? Jesus said, whoever exalts himself will be humbled, but he who humbles himself will be exalted. Millennials, I want to propose something to you. Maybe, just maybe, us with the greatest dreams in our heads, maybe, just maybe, it's no small coincidence that we are also starting in the lowest of low places. Maybe, just maybe, we are on the road to greater things, and maybe, just maybe, if we'll lean in and we'll ask two questions, who can I learn from and who can I serve, maybe we will change the world. And anybody else, I don't know where you are, where you've been. I just want to say this. If you're tempted to shrink your dream of greater things, don't do it. If anything, ask God to make it greater. Ask Him for the greater things. Expand it to the point where you can't do it, where it becomes painfully obvious your only choice is the road of humility. Say, God, you got to take it. And when you do that, ask two questions. Who can I learn from? Who can I serve? And by the way, if you want to stay on the road to greater things, the answer to both those questions is the exact same. It's everybody.
Hey, I'm Brian Tome, pastor at Crossroads. You might be wondering, what is this Spark thing? Spark is a new series we start on July 7th. We've done it for a few years in a row. It's meant to spark ideas in you. We bring in great communicators who speak to real life stuff that we need sparked inside of us, whether it's a marriage thing or whether it's overcoming depression. We start July 7th. We hope you'll subscribe, you'll follow us on YouTube, and you may actually just show up if you can get to a real Crossroads location. We'll see you then.